Hello bellezas, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here then just welcome. Hi, my name is Brenda. I do paranormal videos here on my channel, so if that is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss when I post another video like this one. Now with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. Okay, hello my friends, welcome back. As I said, I am very excited to be here for another video, and as you guys can tell by the title, today we are going to do another Mano Peluda video. And today I am going to be covering two cases, and that is because these are relatively on the shorter side, so that is why I decided to just do 2 in 1 kind of thing. I was gonna do 3, but I couldn't find any that were like good and short, short and sweet. I went with these two, and let's go ahead and get started with the first case, which is of Nestor the DJ, and this is La Quinceañera Fantasma. Now, if you are not from Mexico or of Mexican descent and have never heard of a quinceañera, it is basically a huge birthday party where it's celebrated for a girl to turn 15 or go into being a 15-year-old, and it's all about becoming a woman, and you get to put on, most girls, this is when they first put on makeup for the first time, and they get to have this huge ball gown, and they have chambelanes, and they get to do choreography for their bus and their special dances, and all their family is there, and they get all sorts of little things for tradition wise, and it's a very well-known celebration. Even if you're not Mexican, I'm pretty sure you have had a friend who has had one, you've been to one, or you've seen it in a TV show, something of the sorts. But that's basically what a quinceañera is. And this story is told by Nestor, who is a DJ who lives in Georgia, and he tells this story to Ruben, I think is the host at the time. Oh, and I didn't mention, if you have never watched any of my Mano Peluda videos, then you wouldn't know what a Mano Peluda is. So let me give you a quick rundown, and I will also link here the rest of my videos in a playlist. And La Mano Peluda is basically a Mexican radio show that was very popular in the 90s and is very popular to this day. There are a number of certain stories that were told by people that are very popular, but there are tons and tons that were submitted to this radio show, and it was very beloved. It went on for a very long time, and then it had a lot of switch ups. It had a lot of different hosts throughout the year, and it usually aired around midnight or 3 in the morning, and it just had subjects of horror or paranormal events. People would call in and tell their stories, or the hosts would talk amongst themselves about different cases and different cryptids and just things of that sort. And that's basically what La Mano Peluda was. Okay, so in this case, Nestor calls in to talk about how he is a DJ. He DJs for a lot of different events like weddings and any other party that people have, but he mostly does quinceañeras because those are the most common ones that he gets hired for. And he talks about how he had gotten an inquiry for somebody who wanted him to play at their daughter's quinceañera. And of course, he said that he usually always takes a deposit before the actual show, and then he'll get paid later for the job. And so in his inquiry, while he's discussing with the dad of the quinceañera, he's discussing how much the deposit's gonna be, and then he asks him if there's any specific songs that he would like him to know, if the quinceañera is gonna dance a certain song for her vals or her special surprise dance, and the dad just says no, that she doesn't have any. So he finds it kind of weird, but he doesn't really question it. He's like, okay, maybe they're just doing something different. And he had already taken the deposit for it. He didn't have a problem with not having a plan. He was just going to end up playing whatever he wanted and just whatever he thought the crowd would like. And so the day of the quinceañera arrives, and he is setting up his equipment as normal. The venue is, a typical quinceañera venue. There's a bunch of people already there at the tables and waiting for everybody else to arrive to the venue. And as the party is going on, he's playing a bunch of different songs, trying to see what will get the crowd going and what will get them to start dancing. And as he's playing the songs, he realizes that the people at the party are kind of like, the vibe isn't there. He says that they seem pretty down, kind of sad, and there's no good energy, and no matter what songs he plays, there's really nothing that's getting the crowd going. There are a few people on the dance floor dancing to the songs that he's playing, but ultimately a majority of the people at the venue, their energy is just kind of off, and there's something off about the whole thing. And then as the party continues, he kind of starts noticing the quinceañera after she appears onto the dance floor, and he is watching her for a while, and she's kind of just dancing by herself, and he's kind of confused as to why she's been dancing by herself the whole time, and nobody else seems to be gathering around her or trying to talk to her. Everyone's just kind of doing their own thing at their table. The few people on the dance floor, no matter what song he plays, the quinceañera just remains by herself the whole time.
Entonces se metió para la cocina donde está el salón. Yo veo que los salones tienen una cocina aparte para repartir la comida.
¿Cómo no, señor? Claro que sí.
Entonces le hablé, pues le dije, no me hizo caso. Entonces yo seguí ahí, y enseguida subieron los chambelanes.
And then later on, after watching her for a while at some point during this party, he finally decides to put a playlist on, like a cumbia playlist that's gonna go on for an hour and a half. And he decides that he's gonna go try to be nice and go dance with the quinceañera because she has been by herself this whole time. And as he goes down, he leaves somebody else who works for him to kind of watch over the DJ set, make sure that the music doesn't stop playing, and so on and so forth. He says, I'll be right back. So he goes down to the dance floor, and he approaches the quinceañera, and he asks if he can dance with her, and they kind of just start dancing together to the cumbia playlist.
Fui a bailar con la quinceañera, ¿verdad? Porque estaba bailando sola. Yo estaba bailando una pieza de una canción que yo puse.
Más o menos.
Estaba bailando. Era una cumbia.
Una cumbia, ok.
Una cumbia, no me acuerdo creo que eran creo que era del grupo cual.
Ok, muy bien.
Puse un mix de que yo tenía allá arreglado de sonidera,
okay,
para que durara una hora y media.
Sí.
Pero en lo que yo bailé con la quinceañera fue como de, no le miento, pero fue como de un minuto, medio minuto,
más
creo, porque yo me di la vuelta, ya no la vi. Entonces yo recorrí como yo pensé que pues a lo mejor la quinceañera pues a lo mejor no le gusté como bailé yo, ¿verdad?
Okay.
And so he says that he approximately danced with her for 1 minute altogether before he ends up turning around. He was probably doing a little cumbia spin or something. And when he turns back around, she's nowhere to be seen. He doesn't know where she ran off to, but he kind of jokes around and says, oh, maybe she didn't like the way that I danced and she decided to just leave. And he didn't really know where she went. And then he went back up to the DJ booth and, continued doing his job. And the guy that he works with or has working for him, he comes up to him and he asks him, he's like, what were you doing on the dance floor by yourself? And he was like, oh, I wasn't by myself. I went to go dance with the quinceañera, but the next thing I know, she was just gone. And they kind of just let that go, and they don't really say anything for the rest of the night. And then later on, at some point, he ends up talking to the mom of the quinceañera, and he's kind of just conversating with her, like talking to her about if he can play any other songs that her daughter would like if she knows any genres that she likes, that way she can come back to the dance floor or continue dancing, something of the sort. And that's when he sees her expression, and it's a very sad one, and he's very confused. He doesn't know what he said wrong, and that's when he sees a tear run down her cheek. And at this point, he's very confused. He's like, what's going on? And that's when she tells him that her daughter passed away a year ago. And they continued on with the quinceañera because her daughter really, really wanted a quinceañera, and it was like her dream to have one, and she was really looking forward to it. And they just couldn't bear with the fact that they weren't going to have one for her because she had passed away. So they decided to ultimately still have the party even though she had passed away. And he had already talked to her about how he had seen her, and he had even described her dress. He was kind of just telling her like, oh, I like the dress that she picked out, and like, you know, just giving her details about how he saw her. And that's why she got really emotional after he kept asking about her, because she wasn't there. They had just thrown this party, but when he got hired for the party, he had said that he never got told that this was going to be a quinceañera without a quinceañera, or that she had passed away, or any of that. So he was kind of just in the dark. And the fact that he had seen her and had thought that he had danced with her really was something that put a chill down his back. And he even says it while he's telling the story. He says that it still feels like it makes him scared, and it feels like the whole room got cold and he's got chills and all of that. And then the dad of the quinceañera ends up stepping in, and he's asking if he can talk to the DJ. And he kind of just explains like the whole thing that I just said, that they ended up still wanting to have the quinceañera. And he ends up telling him about how he saw her on the dance floor and how he thought that he danced with her, and that he watched her by herself for that entire time that he was up there on the booth. And then that she just ended up disappearing. And so this is kind of like a shock for both of the parents.
Y entonces el papá me dice, no puede ser. Y yo le digo, como sí ve que toman este video en la fiesta y todo.
Sí, cómo no, amigo.
Entonces yo le dije, chequen el video. Ahí yo estoy bailando con ella, porque me tomó el camarógrafo.
Ok. ¿Y checaste tú el video?
No, pues
no.
le hablaron al señor del video. No, pues repitieron el video. El video y uy, todavía me da hasta como frío.
Todavía, recordar.
No, ándale, parece que está haciendo frío, que está con un frío, pero todavía me da frío porque revisaron el video y va a creer que don Rubén, yo estoy bailando solo. Y lo sorprendente que está, que la quinceañera aparece, pero no bailando conmigo. Aparece en la esquina de la mesa principal.
Sí, amigo.
En la esquina, en el sobre su pastel.
Sí.
But comforting at the same time, because then now they feel like their daughter was present and she was able to live her dream of having her quinceañera still, even though it was in spirit and not in person like she had anticipated. It was kind of heartwarming for them. The DJ himself was very spooked because he had ultimately seen the spirit of the quinceañera and not a real person as he had thought. And afterwards, the dad ends up giving a speech to everybody at the quinceañera, letting them know that he was thankful for everybody coming, and that he was also thankful that his daughter was able to attend the quinceañera and be here to experience it. And that's when everybody kind of got spooked. Like there was a kind of a weird ambience. And then after this whole speech that the dad gave, nobody ended up going on the dance floor anymore. I think everybody was kind of freaked out, kind of confused by the speech that the dad had given, and everybody was just kind of scared at that point. Or there was kind of like this eerie vibe. And that's basically the whole story of Nestor and the thing that happened afterwards, because he said that he realized that there was a whole film crew capturing these moments for the family to look back on, these memories. And he reached out to the person who was the videographer, and he asked if he could find the footage of when he went onto the dance floor to dance with the quinceañera and see if it showed up just him dancing by himself. And he said that he had a film camera that he was using at the time. So it's like one of those where if you don't like what you ended up filming, you can film over it because you can just reuse the tape in it, and you can, rewind and fast forward it and choose where to cut it and then start filming again over the tape. And so he says that after he reached out to him, he's like, yes, I'll see if I can find it. And he had told him that he found the footage and that he saw that he was dancing by himself, but the quinceañera was not standing next to him. She was standing over at a table that was in the background next to her cake. And that is the footage that they had of him. It was like a figure of the quinceañera standing by her cake. And then Ruben afterwards asks him, he's like, if you can find that footage and send it to us, send it into our website with the story that you told us here. He's like, yes, send it to us.
¿Y por qué no lo manda?
Pero estaría bueno que yo le pida el video.
Por favor, mándalo y lo anunciamos aquí en el programa, que ya pueden consultar la página, el Facebook de La Mano Peluda, en donde nos vas a mandar la historia del relato que nos acabas de contar y cómo se puede apreciar que...
And I don't know if they ever received that. I don't know if they ever obtained it. But the DJ said that he would reach out to the guy who took the video and see if he can obtain that footage somehow and then send it in to La Mano Peluda. But as of the footage itself, I don't know if anyone ever found it or if anyone ever uploaded it anywhere. But if there is, I will find a way to insert it in here. If not, then we'll just be moving on. Oh, and then I didn't mention, but they had said that she died from a cancer of the blood or something of the sort. It seemed like the DJ wasn't really sure how she had passed away because, she was only 14 at the time. And he was saying maybe it was like some kind of leukemia or, something of the sort, some kind of cancer. At first, he said it was some kind of breathing issue that she had, but then he switched it up and he said that he actually wasn't 100% sure how she had passed away. But just wanted to mention that little detail before moving on to the next story. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about that one. I definitely thought it was pretty creepy and eerie, and I don't know if I would be able to watch the video of me dancing by myself. I think it would freak me out more because in his eyes, like, she was a real person and he had zero indication of her being a ghost or a spirit. So that must have been quite a shock. I really enjoy reading and hearing these stories and then like telling you guys about them. They are so much fun. They're so creepy. And the fact that they're recorded on tape and like the whole atmosphere of it, it's like such good creepy vibes. I love it so much. Okay, let's go on to the second one. Okay, so this case is called El Niño con Cuernos, which is the kid or the boy with horns. Okay, and this call is by a father, and I don't know if he gave his name or not during this call, but he basically calls in to tell the host. I don't remember who was hosting this one at the time, because as I said, they've had a lot of hosts, but the main ones were Ruben and Juan Ramon Sainz, so I'm not sure which one of them answered this call. But anyway, he wants to tell his story because he is convinced that his son is growing horns and that he has been talking to somebody in the middle of the night and playing with what he thinks is Satan. Yeah, I know. It's a crazy start to the story. But yeah, so he's convinced that he's talking to Satan all night and that he's playing with him and that now his son has started growing horns. And he's telling him this whole story about how he's very frightened because his son has been acting very strange. He's been talking in a very weird voice and he's only about 6 years old. Can't remember the exact age that they said on the story, but he's a young boy. And so he's very scared about what's going on because he doesn't know how this started. It was kind of just something that started randomly happening. And so as he's telling him all this, oh yeah, it was Juan Ramon Sainz. he asks if he can talk to him, if he can talk to the kid and kind of see what's going on and see if he can kind of get a glimpse as to what this dad is talking about.
Roberto, por favor abre la puerta. Voy a abrir la puerta. Voy a abrir la puerta, no te espantes. Solamente quieren hablar contigo, es por teléfono, por favor. Por favor. Por favor. Por favor, no. Por favor, quieto, por favor. Di algo, saluda por lo menos.
Roberto.
Roberto, estás escuchando, el señor te está hablando.
Hola, Roberto. Hola, Roberto.
So the little boy's name is Roberto, and the first thing that Juan Ramon asks him is, do you listen to the radio? I'm Juan Ramon. Like, he kind of just is making conversation with him because he wants him to know that the dad is calling him and that they're on a radio show. And Roberto tells him that he doesn't like radio shows, and he tells him further that his favorite game is exterminating his toys, or like pretending to kill his toys, as well as playing with Satan. So, as the dad said, he says that he had been hearing his son playing with what supposedly is Satan or the devil, whatever.
¿Cómo estás, Roberto? ¿Estabas dormido? Oye, Roberto, ¿y te gusta el radio?
No.
¿Por qué?
No sé, nunca lo he oído.
¿Nunca lo has oído?
No.
Ok, ¿y a qué juegas, Roberto?
¿A matar?
A matar. ¿Y a quién matas, Roberto?
A mis juguetes.
¿A quién?
A mis juguetes.
¿Y a qué más juegas, hijo?
Con Satanás.
¿Con quién?
Con Satanás.
¿Con él juegas?
Sí.
¿Cuándo juegas con él?
Mucho.
¿Él está contigo ahorita?
No, ya no.
¿Cada cuándo va contigo?
Todas las noches.
Todas las noches. Oye, ¿dónde conociste a Satanás, hijo?
En mis,
¿En dónde?
en mis sueños.
Then Juan Ramon asks Roberto if he knows God or if he, talks to God. And Roberto says no, that he is scared. I'm guessing that he's scared of God and that he'd rather play with Satan. Yeah. Quite terrifying words to come out of a 8-year-old, whatever he is. I would be scared talking to him on the phone after that. And during the phone call, you can actually hear where the dad approaches the son's room and he knocks on it, and he is saying that he's asleep, so he's basically waking him up to get on this phone call with Juan Ramon for La Mano Peluda, because as I said, this show is usually going on around midnight or 3 in the morning, and so the kid has been asleep most likely, and now they're waking him up to talk to Juan Ramon. And so shortly after they had talked to him, Roberto sounds annoyed, or he shows that his annoyance at being woken up to talk to them, to take this call. And he says that he got annoyed because at the time he was in the middle of playing with Satan in his dreams, I'm guessing. And I'm guessing that's what the dad was also implying, that in the middle of the night, this is what's been going on, but it's happening in the little boy's dream.
¿Estás enojado?
Sí.
¿Por
Me
qué, hijo?
despertaron.
Por eso.
Sí.
Oye,
Estaba jugando con él.
¿Con quién?
Con Satanás.
Ok, ¿y en qué parte del juego se quedaron?
En que íbamos a matar a una persona.
A una persona le iban a matar. Oye, ¿te gusta ver la televisión, Roberto?
No.
¿No te gusta?
No.
Oye, ¿y tú conoces a Dios?
No.
¿No lo conoces?
No.
¿Y te gustaría conocerlo?
No.
¿Por qué?
Porque me da miedo.
Pero él es bueno. Él no te va a hacer nada.
And as I said, this was a rather short call because towards the end of it, all you hear is a bunch of screams from the father, and he's begging his son to not lock himself in his room. And that's when the call just pretty much ends, and Juan Ramon is kind of just left not knowing what ended up happening, because I'm pretty sure maybe he didn't call back, or Juan Ramon wasn't able to call back, but they kind of just basically didn't know what ended up happening. So
Ya me voy. Yo quiero jugar con Satanás.
Roberto, espérame.
No, ya.
Ven, Roberto.
Espérate, tranquilo, espérate, por favor.
Roberto.
that's basically all the information that he was able to gather, was that the dad had suspicions that there was something going on with his son, because he had something coming out of his forehead, and he was thinking that his son was either being possessed or turning into a demon or something of the sort. He was just worried, and that's the only thing he could think of, was to call the radio show and tell his story and see if somebody could help his son somehow. And that was basically the end of it. I don't think he ever called back, so who knows what could have happened to Roberto. I would be very curious to know if he ended up being okay, or if he ended up being maybe in a psychiatric hospital or something of the sort. Like, who knows what ended up happening with him. Or maybe he ended up being normal, you know? Maybe this was all kind of a phase. Maybe somebody was feeding him this information, and then it kind of just spiraled out of control, that the dad just, jumped to conclusions about something, and maybe it was all a misunderstanding. But, we'll never know, because that's the only thing that came out of the rest of this story. And I know that this is said about a lot of the stories, but this is another one of the most well-known and told stories from La Mano Peluda, and one of the captivating ones as well. And one that I really enjoyed, because I kind of am left in like a cliffhanger, not knowing what happened to this little boy, and no further information given. Because that's the thing about this radio show, is that a lot of times if they don't get the caller's information, and if they didn't have caller ID at the moment, then that's it. It's kind of just taken off with the wind, never to be seen again, and they have no way to contact those people again. Just like in some of the other stories that I've told on here, like the one of Clarita, where they never were able to get in touch with her, and all that they got back was hearsay and alleged stories that were told on the internet and that were passed around about her, but no concrete facts. And it was such a long time ago, the 1990s. Even though it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, there was a lot of different things that we didn't have. It wasn't as easy to get in touch with people, and not everybody had a cell phone, and there was no social media to look people up on. The closest thing that they could probably do is find a phone book, and try to find them that way. But yeah, they were very limited, and you just kind of had to leave it as that. Kind of like the 911 operators, you get a phone call, there's something crazy happening on the other side, and then once they hang up, you just never know what ended up happening to them. You can go, obviously they have more tech where they can go look up the reports to what happened with that person afterwards. That way they kind of get some kind of closure. But obviously these aren't as critical. They are pretty scary, but they just never get an answer sometimes to what else happened to these callers. But yeah, guys, that is going to be the end of today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed those two Mano Peluda cases. As I said, these are my favorite. These are so fun, and I know that you guys really like these as well. So I hope that you enjoyed these ones. Let me know what you guys thought about these cases, and if you guys have any other information about them that you would like to share with everybody so they can read it in the comments, that'd be really awesome. But yeah, before I do end today's video, today's comment shout out goes to this person right here. Thank you so much for leaving a nice comment. As always, I really do appreciate it, and it really makes my day. And if you want to be the next comment shout out, all you have to do is leave me a nice comment down below, and that's it. And if you made it all the way to the end of the video, comment a little devil emoji. The one with the horns. That way I know who stayed all the way to the end. And if you did stay all the way to the end, just know that I really, really appreciate you, because not a lot of people make it to this point. So I just know how much love you got from me, and we're best friends now. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching once again. Hopefully I see you in the next one. Don't forget to stay safe and be kind. Bye bye.